Hi everyone, I'm Cailee Hanson with SVA Consulting, and in this video I'll be walking through a general purchase order workflow. So we'll walk through how to create a purchase order within Acumatica, and then we'll also walk through the process of creating a receipt and an AP bill off of that to see kind of that three-way match. So there's a couple of other videos that we've done specifically around kind of the AP payment side. So if that's something you'd want to see, I definitely invite you to review that video afterwards. But this will kind of take into account solely focusing on some of that purchasing side along with that three-way match. So I'm going to start by creating a purchase order within Acumatica, and I'll do so by going to this purchasing tab, the purchases module, and then I can create a new purchase order. So a couple of different ways I can get there. One, I can click this new purchase order button at the top, and that's just going to automatically prompt me into that purchase order entry screen. If I hover over this purchase orders menu, I can see that new tab is available as well. So I could go ahead and click that. And again, that will open it to that purchase order entry screen. And lastly, I could drill down into this purchase order list. Here is my previous list of all purchase orders within the system. And I could create a new one just by clicking that plus button at the top. So kind of three avenues in terms of creating a new purchase order. I'll go ahead and just click this new purchase order button at the top. And like I said, it will prompt me and push me into that entry screen. So the starting point will be to attach this to a specific vendor in the system. So if I already know my vendors, I can go ahead and search those within this search. And it's going to automatically meet anything that matches that criteria. If I don't know the list, I could go ahead and click this little search icon. And what this will search is just, it's going to give me that full list of vendors that I can create a purchase order for within my system. So this is just access into my vendors list, and then I could go ahead and select the correct vendor from there as well. So I'll go ahead and select Alta Ace. And then you'll notice once I do so, it's auto-populating in some of that information from that vendor record, such as the location and the owner. But both of those are areas I could potentially override if needed. So I'll go ahead and keep it at that. And then maybe I have a vendor reference number. I can go ahead and type that in too. If I wanted a description, I could do so. And then we'll also notice that these dates on the left-hand side are auto-populating in. So this is just defaulting to today's date. If I wanted to change, for example, the promised on date, I could do that as well. And then I can go ahead and save it with this icon at the top. So that's kind of the foundation at the header level. And then really where I begin to create this purchase order is by adding in certain items. So I'll have my items list within Acumatica, and a couple of ways I can begin to add those in to the purchase order themselves. So I'll be working on this details tab, and I can click add row. And then once I do, it's going to prompt me to go ahead and select an inventory item. So I can go ahead, similar to that vendor field at the top, I could search within my system. So maybe, I want to search this Lego set. I could search that. It's going to match that criteria. Or I can click this icon, and that's going to give me the entire list within the system. So kind of both ways available. And then here I'll go ahead and select this Lego set. And in this case, it's populating in a lot of that information based on that inventory ID. So I can see things like the description, the unit of measure. If I wanted to override that, for example, I could if I had multiple units of measure. And then it's also bringing in that specific unit cost. Again, all of that defaulting in, but I could override that on a purchase order by purchase order basis if I wanted to as well, or a line by line basis. So I'll go ahead, add in 100 units here, press save, and then we'll see that that total at the top is updating based on that unit cost and order quantity. So I can continue to add different lines here. Otherwise, I can click this add items button. And what this will give is kind of a list of multiple different inventory items within my system. In this case, it's filtering by only the vendor specific items. I could uncheck that, and that will give more results. I could search and filter by things like item classes that are set up in the system. So I just wanted to filter by consumer goods. I could do that. And then I could go ahead, toggle through here and add in some additional items. So I can multi-check a lot of them at a time, maybe use my keys to type in some values. In this case, we'll just add one, make it a little bit more simple. We'll add 20 of these, add and close. Perfect. So it added those in, brought in that cost, and then we'll see that order total updating at the top. If you have many records within the system or many lines within a purchase order, is probably a better way of putting it. Again, through all of the transaction screens within Acumatica, you have the option to load records from a file. So that would be something like an Excel file that maybe you have all of those line items listed. That might be a little bit of a shortcut in terms of updating and creating a purchase order for multiple line items. But again, kind of different options there, typically through this add row button or this add items button. So I'll go ahead and save it. Everything looks good. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and remove this hold. So I'm going to remove this hold. I do not have an approval map set up currently or turned on for purchase orders. If you do have approvals on purchase orders and they're turned on in your system, then typically this would go into a pending approval status. And then I would have an approval tab that's shown on kind of the right-hand side here, and then it will show you who it's routed for approval. So again, in this example, mine's not being routed for approval, but yours might, and then it will be in that pending approval status until that approver goes ahead and approves the purchase order. All right, so now let's assume, it's been a little bit of time and these items are received. So I can go ahead and create that purchase order receipt. So I could go drill down back into this purchase order. I could enter that PO receipt directly from the purchase order screen, or I could go back into my menu, go into my purchase receipts menu, and then I could create a new one as well. So I'll kind of do that method. I'll create a new purchase receipt, and then I'll want to create it for that Ulta Ace vendor in this case. So here I'm selecting that vendor, and then I have this option to automatically create the AP bill. You may unselect that or have that deselected by default if you would have that AP bill, separate coming into the system, and then you'll perform that three-way match manually. Otherwise, I'm just going to create that AP bill automatically by leaving that on, and then I can go ahead and create the purchase receipt. So I'll go ahead, save it, and then I can add in that purchase order that I'm receiving from by clicking this Add PO button. Once I do this, this is showing all open purchase orders within that specific vendor. So you can see I have a lot of open purchase orders for this vendor, but that bottom one is the one I just created. So I'm going to go ahead and add and close. But if I wanted to create multiple or one purchase order for one purchase receipt for multiple purchase orders, I could do so here as well. But I'll just create it for that bottom one and add and close. Perfect. So again, just a little bit of recap of what I did. Created a new purchase receipt, press the Add PO button, and then it will give you a list of any open POs for that specific vendor. You can select one or many, and then add and close, and that will automatically populate in that order quantity, and then it's going to assume that you're receiving it in full. So it's automatically going to enter in that full receipt quantity. If you were receiving partial receipts, you could go ahead and update these, override those numbers. You'd have a partial receipt, and then that purchase order would stay open until you receive the full amount. In this case, we're going to assume that I'm receiving the full amount. So it looks good, and then I can go ahead and release it. So once I did, we'll see that has changed the status to release. And then if I go back into my purchase order, I can see that that purchase order is completed. And then if I go to this PO history tab, this is where I can see that receipt as well as that bill. So it created that AP bill. So it's kind of the three-way match component here. Again, I drilled back down into that purchase order. It's completed. We've created that receipt. It's all attached to it. And then that AP bill as well. And I could drill down into that AP bill, and then we'll see kind of that breakdown as well. And then I can proceed to, remove this from hold. If this was routed for approval, we'll see it's routed for approval here, as well as who it's assigned to. And then once that's been approved and released, then you kind of get to the payment part. So again, a high-level overview on how you would create a purchase order within the system, as well as a purchase receipt with that three-way match. Like I said, we have another recorded video really walking through the AP payment application process. So I do invite you to watch that video next if that's something you're interested in. But I hope this provided kind of a good initial background for how you would begin to navigate around purchasing within Acumatica by creating those purchase orders. So definitely reach out if you have any questions, but thank you, and I hope this was helpful.